The equation's a little difficult, so we're going to dissect it piece from piece right now. Yeah, I know, we're gonna dissect it because the formula is very intimidating. Actually, I'm gonna bring it up right now. I want to get a accurate regression formula. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. This don't look at the slope for least square fit. This is the one I found where it just generally looks like what it looks like on my math labs, what we've been doing. So I'm gonna actually do it all on here since it'll just be easier. So my x, I found out. So this is gonna be given 5, 3, 4, 1, 2. So you're gonna have given x and y numbers. So pretty much a set of numbers that are given. Let me get them all down. 7 and 8. Okay. -1, 1, -1, 7, 8. To it correctly. Okay. So you kind of know which numbers are going with. Okay. So I'm going to use, so this formula looks really, really tricky, right? It's like, oh my God, where do I start? Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to make a chart, just like we did for the sample standard deviation. We're going to make a chart for this. And if you don't like charts, I know, but for this one, we kind of have to. And then we have x squared to the second squared. So that x2 just means it's squared. And so now I don't need to do the x's, but I just kind of, and the y's, but it's kind of just like, this is what it gives you to kind of make yourself a little bit more organized. So even though I plugged it in already, it kind of is just like, let's do it again. So it'll just take me 1 second. So I'd like to create a chart, and they might not all be in sequence with each other. So then this one says x and y. So you have to multiply each x times y. So in this case, we'll get -5. We'll get 3, we'll get -4, we'll get 7, and we'll get 16. So why am I multiplying them? Well, if we dissect this, and don't pay attention, hold on. So don't pay attention to the n and I equals 1. It's just saying that each individual number and blah, blah. We're going to do the summation of each individual x and each individual y minus the summation of each individual x, and that should be another parentheses close of each individual y over n. Over, and then each individual x squared minus each individual x, and then parentheses outside squared over n. So a little difficult, but nothing we can't handle. And just tell me if you get confused or something, just let me know if you want me to stop and go over it. Okay, so now we found x and y. We multiplied x and y. So now we got to square them, just because we want to do all the components that it's asking us. So you'll see. So we go, I'm going to put my mark. No, I don't even see that. So 5 squared is 25. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 7 squared, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 3 squared. And I'm going by the x's. Yes, I'm going by the x's. So don't go by the x and y. Go by the x's. So I'm going by these. So then I have 1, because 1 times 1 is squared, and then 4. Yeah, and I'm trying to keep it all together and symmetrical, so if you can't read something, just let me know. It's not -16, because even if we did a -4 times a -4, it would still be a +16, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Yeah, but that's why we square them anyways, but even so, you don't need to worry about that, because we're going to do the +4 anyway. So we're not squaring x and y, we're squaring the 2, the 1, the 4, the 3, and the 5, because it wants our x squared. So we're going to do that. So we created the chart. So now I want to sum them all up. So 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 1 plus 2 equals 15. And I want to do another space so we know the sums. So I'm actually going to do sum x equals 15, so it's not like all weird. Sum y, so -1 plus 1 plus -1 plus 7 plus 8 is 14. XY sum equals -5 plus 3 plus -4 plus 10 blah blah is 17. And if you don't know how you're getting these, just let me know. But it's just simple addition and subtraction using negative numbers. And then the x squared one is going to be equal to 55. I have the answers here, but I just want to make sure we double check that. Okay, so I have x squared. I found the sums. So now let's see what the question was saying. So we're given this. This is what it's given right here. So I'm going to highlight that as this was given. And then it says, find that little guy with the Y on it. Oh, man, it's like Y cap. Hold on. I can find it. We want to find him. That's what we want to find. Do we remember that? That Y hat. So Y hat is equal to this equation, basically. That's what it's saying. And with this, it should give us another thing given as n is equal to 5. Let's say, oh, I'm sorry, no. It doesn't give you that. Okay, so we're trying to find Y hat, right? So what is in this equation where I don't have? So I have my each individual x's summation of it. I got my summation of each individual x. I got my summation of each individual y. I got my both of them, the summation of both of them. And then I have my squared. So what is it not giving me? It's not giving me n. So how do I know what n is? And n is the number of observations. So if you don't know what n is and they give you a number set, it's always going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So n will be equal to 5. And we just know that just because of counting the numbers in previous things we've been doing. So now let's plug it into the formula. So what I did was I made a chart, and I'm kind of looking at it, and this is a really weird equation just the way it looks, but it was like the one I could find that was most fit. So it just looks weird because you're like, oh my god, there's I's and there's N's and there's that weird E, that weird E again, and you're just like, oh my god. But I understand, so we're going to dissect it, and we're going to go really slow. So this one says it wants the sum of each individual x and each individual y together. So what number would that be? So n, yes, n is the number of observations. N is enough, so it's always the number of observations that you see. So if I put a number in there, and x and y will always have the same numbers. Like you'll never have x being 6 and y being like 10. Like that will never happen. That wouldn't make sense. So n will always be the number of the set of numbers always there, unless otherwise given. It'll be like the sample size is 300 or something like that usually. So what out of these four that I found, which one is going to go in the first one, the first equation, x, y, the sum of x and y? Which number? And if you don't know, just say you don't know, because it's totally fine. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's going to happen is it's going to be 17, because it's the sum of x, y. That E is just saying the sum of. That sigma, that Greek letter, it's just saying the sum of our each individual of our x's and our y's, and we found that the sum of our x's and y's was, why did I put? Yeah, was 17. Yes. Do we see that? No, don't be sorry. Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, don't ever be sorry. This is why you're here. I'm glad you're doing that with me, so you're good. Okay, so that's why we do it. So that's 17. So now I'm going to go and follow the formula minus, and then that one, this one should have a parentheses kind of going like that. So it should have a summation of xi parentheses, so it closes it, and then another parentheses open for xy. You don't have to, but it just kind of makes it easier to look at. So my each individual x is going to be 15. That's what I'm going to put in this guy. So I'm going to open my parentheses, put 15 in, and close parentheses. So that's my EXI. That's what that is. So then I'm still not done. I want to have the EXY now. I'm sorry, the EYI. So the individual Y, the summation of each individual I. That's what it's saying. So my each individual I, the summation was 15. I'm sorry, was 14. So now I'm going to multiply it by 14 again, and then divide it by, and we said was n was equal to 5. So that's 5. So we did the numerator. Are you okay with this so far? Is it? Okay, awesome, cool. All right, so now I'm going to go to the denominator, and I wonder if I could draw on this. Just pretend there's like a little bar right there. Yeah. So just pretend there's like a line under there making the denominator. So anyways, let's do the bottom. So it's going to be, because all these like weird things are here on this weird equation, just take off that I, take off that n, take off those i's and equals n, then just get rid of that. And then we have that weird E looking guy, so that's sigma xi, just like we had for this guy, except for the difference is we have that squared right there. So we're going to go back into my, where I found for squared, and my whole summation for that would be 55. So I'm going to have 55 minus, and then, so this guy, the difference between this guy is it's asking for the individual x, not the squared. This one has a squared because there's no parentheses asking, like if there's no parentheses separating the squared button, right? So we need to make sure that this is just asking. So get rid of that 2, and it's just asking for each individual x. So that, again, is going to be my 15. Do we see that? It's not going to be my x squared because technically it's not asking for the squared part because the parentheses are separating it, making it just x. So it's going to be 15. Do we see that? Okay, awesome. And then we're going to put that square there because we're going to square it eventually. So that's what that means, just because I don't know how to do squared up there. Divided by 5. So let's go. I'm gonna take this and put it over here and kind of write it out that way. So it just kind of looks a little bit. Yeah, because exactly, because the 2 is outside. Sorry. So I'm going to take it over here, and I'm going to kind of write it out. I'm going to do 17 minus 15 times 14 divided by 5. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make this bigger. And then I'm going to do 55 minus 15, and then 15 over 5. And I'm going to put in my squared. So that should be squared, and it should be over. So it should look like B1 is equal to. Yeah, okay, cool. So is there anything else squared in there? No. Okay. So that's what it's going to look like. So that's our, like, when we put it all together, that's what it should look like. So let's do this. So where do I start? For this, we want to do PEMDAS, and I want to work on the numerator. So if I do 15 minus 17, I get 25. Okay, so let me just do 15 times 14 divided by 5. Let me know what you get. Try to do it yourself, and then let me know what you get, if you can. If you can't, then we'll work with it together. I just want to double check and make sure it is. We're doing regression lines, and let me just update you. For X, we had 5, 3, 4, 1, and 2. And then for Y, we had 1, -1, 1, 7, and 8. And we want to find that Y hat guy. So just imagine that Y hat guy with like a little hat on him, like that. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. So 25, 15 squared divided by 5 minus 55, negative 10. Okay, so did you see how, exactly. Well, okay, so you got negative 25. That's good. So you got the right thing. So what did you do up here first? You did 15 times 14, and then you get 210, right? So and you get 15 times 14, you get 210, right? And then we're doing regression lines right now for those who just came in. I have 5, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then Y is 1, -1, 1, 7, 8. And we're doing that horrible formula where you have to find Y hat. So I have it over here, the formula, as this guy right here. I couldn't find it on like a nice way to do it, but just get rid of those N's and those I's, and then put a parenthesis around that, these two, containing their own, and that's what it is. Okay, so let's see what we're doing. Sorry, before I get off track. So we found what we did. Actually, I'll give you guys an update. Sorry about this, Natalia, 1 second. What we did is we made a chart. So I listed my X's, I listed my Y's. I had to do X times Y because that's what the first one wants me to do, and then X squared because that's what the denominator of the first one wants me to do. So I found that the whole, when I sum up the X's, it's 15. When I sum up the Y's, it's 14. X times Y, I multiplied them, then I added them, and I got 17. And then I squared just the X's, not the XY. I squared the X's, and I summed them up, and I got 55. And then I plugged it in. So now we're going to work on the thing. So so Natalia got negative 28.5, which is good. You're just missing one thing for that. Okay, so we have 210, right? So 210 So we have 17 minus 210 divided by 5. So I'm just working on the numerator first. So if I get 210 divided by 5, I get 42. So then I have 17 minus 42, and then 17 minus 42 is 25, right? So the top numerator part up here, I get to be 25, okay? Now I want to find the bottom. For the bottom, I'm going to always do PEMDAS. The reason why I did 15 times 14 is because multiplication, division, and then I do add and subtraction, or parentheses. That's another way you could look at it. So this one has parentheses, and then what's the second part of 17 minus 42? Negative 25. Yes, negative 25. Is that where you're going with, Natalia? Sorry, thank you. Good job. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, if you see me do something like miss a negative sign, please let me know, because it's just beneficial towards you guys. And exactly, like don't do what I'm like, because sometimes that might happen where you might miss the negative sign, and it's just so sad because it's like, you work so hard for it. Okay, so this one's going to be a negative 25. So the bottom, thank you, Natalia. So the bottom, so I'm going to work on exponents. So I want to do, because PEMDAS, do we all know that? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So I see parentheses, I see that exponent. 15 times 15 is 225, right? Is 225. And then we have divided by 5. I'm going to divide it by 5, of course, because it's division instead of subtraction. That comes before. And then divided that by 5, I get 45. So now I have 55 minus 45. And I get what? 10, right? So the bottom part I found to be 10. And I'm just going along because I know you guys know how to add and subtract, but I just want you guys to understand how to use the formula, because it's it's hard when you don't know what to do next. You know what I'm saying? So we have 25 divided by 10. So what is my final answer going to be then? What is my B1 going to equal? So I have B1 to equal. And then you said you got negative 25. Did you say you got negative 25 for the top part? Or did you say that was your final answer, Natalia? Oh, okay. See, I thought it was your final answer. So yeah, so then your final answer is going to be negative 2.5, because I thought you had missed the, yes. Good job. I thought you had, why did I do that? I thought you had just done the top part, because so negative 2.5 is our final answer, and that will be your B1.